What is up, you guys? We are here for our weekly anchor message where we are getting our spiritual lessons and assignments for the week. Hope everybody's doing well. From the wild unknown archetypes, we have the river, followed by the storm, followed by the bardo. These cards remind you of anything? To me, it's just like Scorpio, Scorpio, Scorpio. It's like water and storm and wrath, and then death, transformation. Cray cray. All right, underneath the river, we have Seven of Wands. Underneath the storm, we have the Chariot. Driving in the rain. And underneath the Bardo, we've got the feminine King of Wands. And we remember that in the Mystical Moments tarot deck, there is the traditional feminine queen, the traditional masculine king, and then there's an additional card, which is the feminine king, which I read as both the self-mastery of the feminine elements of the suit and the masculine elements of the suit. And then those are like integrated and fully embodied. So this is like a higher stage of mastery. All right, so I'm gonna pause here and let you guys listen to the audio. It's like 2 minutes and you can see the layout and the spread, and then we will come back and talk more about the cards. Scorpio season is charged with intensity to run us through the wringer so that we might be purged and cleansed of the aftermath of emotional wounds that have embedded unconscious programming, limiting beliefs, fears, and low-level trauma responses that keep us on loops of repeating the same patterns that undermine our efforts, block our desires, and hold us back. Death, metamorphosis, and resurrection. Scorpio energy is wielding all the forces of water to purge us of our darkness and thrust us through a flash flood of the abyss. God promised never to destroy us again by water. We will not be defeated by this moment, but we will rise to meet it. We will persevere through the storm in search of the face of the Creator. Even in the midst of the darkest moments, we can reach out for the warmth of the heat of the Creator's breath. Even in the momentary heat of God's fire, we are still in the unfailing presence of the Creator. And if we search for it, we will feel it. The storm you are going through has been specifically designed to antagonize you in exactly the way that it is, so that you can correct and transcend that which creates suffering within you. We souls have faced many deaths, and with every one we reclaim more and more of our light and ascend to new levels. And through the liberation of our souls, we hold that light that illuminates the darkness for others. So I think one thing I will note that was really interesting and powerful this morning when I did this reading for us, it came time to take the picture, and I didn't have any, the ideas will come to me. I won't really think about it. It will just be something that I hear something, or I'm guided towards a particular object or props or a photo book or a magazine even. And it's always intuitive. And so today I was really not getting any reads on anything. And so I just went up into my creative room and I just trusted that the right thing would tug at me when I was ready and calm and listening. And sure enough, it did. I turned around to my bookshelf and I looked, and I looked right at the Edgar Allan Poe books that I have. And there's one with this like really great cover, and it's got a really attractive illustration, classic, like, you know, library book illustrated cover, beautiful. And I was like, well, that'll be more visually stunning. But something told me to grab the kind of dull tan pleather, you know, hardback copy from Reader's Digest with the gold embossing pages, and use that book. And so I opened it randomly, did not choose the page. The pages sort of flipped open to where the book was comfortable and settled. And I laid down the book to take the picture. And of course, I am like guided to read the page because I know that there is an additional message in the page. That's always what happens in these readings. When you see the pictures that are laid out, if there's a book open, then the text on that page is randomly synchronized with the reading. And so today was no different. And I was actually taken aback and stunned to see the book or the page was basically like an in-depth explanation of the reading that I had wrote just moments before and the concepts that were coming through. So that was just wild to me. That was so crazy. But anyway, I thought that was very interesting. So I would suggest pausing or going back and looking at the photo of the reading and zooming in. And you can see it at either on my Instagram page, Liz_Taylor_magic, magic with a CK, or you can look at the community tab on my on my YouTube page. It's like where the posts are, and I post everything, like the readings and the videos are all in order. You can look at it there and zoom in if you want, but it was a beautiful basically telling of today's message written by Edgar Allan Poe. And I wondered if Poe was a mystic. I know that artists channel deeper truths, higher truths, but I wonder if this was something that came through him kind of spontaneously, or I wonder if he studied any mysticism or any of the like esoteric philosophies. Made me wonder, because he's right on the money. Very wise man. If it was only just the muses coming through, but I thought that was very interesting. And since I was talking, I forgot whether or not I paused and let you guys listen to the reading. So I'm gonna have to check my footage really quick to see if we had paused and taken that break. So I will be right back. Okay, awesome. So I did all that. Now I will say the river and the storm, both of these water elements are really highlighting Scorpio season. Scorpio is a water element, but it is co-ruled by Mars, just as Aries is ruled by Mars. So while the Scorpio, the water side of it has this cleansing effect and a very deep emotional introspective nature to it, the Mars ruler can have like this sort of diabolical, like thunderstorm like quality. If you were adding Mars to water, you get storm energy for sure. So the Scorpio season has been kicking up the intensity to kind of like antagonize us in really specific ways, so that we can see like all of the stuff that we want highlighted to work on, to purge ourselves of. Whatever is triggering us right now is showing us the parts of our ego that still remain, that make it possible for suffering, right? These are the parts of us that create suffering for us. Now, pain is unavoidable, pain is part of life, and pain is part of growth as well. But suffering is something different. Suffering is when we hold on to the pain and we can't let go of it, or we won't let go of it. And, suffering comes from like ego rooted things rather than, you know, from the soul. And I mean, it's not to say that the soul can't suffer with sorrow and in genuine ways, but most of our suffering as human beings is rooted in our egoic mind. And it is a perspective issue and almost a choice at many times. So like I said, pain is unavoidable and we don't have a choice. We go through pain, but we can either experience the pain with acceptance, which gives us grace and more ease to move through it, or we can resist it and fight against it and deny it and avoid it and do all of the things that we do, which create even more suffering. Sometimes we avoid it, sometimes we cling to it, you know, but either way, the fear of the pain, you know, the cherishing of the pain, all of it, that's all creating suffering. So the river card talks about the idea of the river rushing through, the water rushing through and cleansing something, right? Water in the river is always moving. And what happens when the water stops moving in the river? It becomes filthy and full of bacteria and fungus, and it gets dirty, right? So in order to keep water clean and pure, it has to keep moving and cycling through, right? And so that's what Scorpio season is doing for us. It's like a river coming in and thrusting through us and washing anything that has been hiding and festering. It's trying to cleanse that so that it washes it out and away from us. And so we need to be able to let go, right? And what else is true about water, right? If we get into the river, we're not going to stay in the same place. The current is going to move us, right? So this purging, this change is going to help move us along. Now, what card was paired with the river, right? If we're stuck in one space because we can't let go of the past, right? We're clinging to, like, say, a fallen tree in the river. We don't want to let go and just let the current take us away from this comfort zone, this place that we're familiar, right? Well, the Seven of Wands card talks about a moment where we're facing ourselves. We're in a face-off, in a battle with some pattern or something we've struggled with, a limiting belief, an addiction, a habit, experiences that haunt us, that keep us caged in. You see this guy here, the strong man. He's breaking free from the cage that's kept him pinned. And what is that cage? It's unconscious programming. It's limiting beliefs. It's negative patterning, right? It's our attachment style that's not been attended to, right? If we're an anxiously attached or disorganized attachment, right? It's all those things that keep us spinning around in loops after loops after loops, repeating these same patterns. So the Seven of Wands acknowledges that we are up against a difficulty where we are facing or we are seeing this pattern for what it is and more clearly. But the good news is that we're assured in the Seven of Wands that we have the strength and the tenacity to overcome that and to make true and real change. It's just that we have to let go and we have to let the river take us, and we have to let that water wash through and just take any of the old grudge away, the old pain, the old sourness, bitterness, fears, insecurities, ways that we're rigid or can't let go of something, right? Or you know, maybe we're stubborn and we don't want to admit that we were wrong or change our mind, or change our position on an issue, right? Maybe we're just so set in our ways that we don't want to quit, right? Maybe there's something, you know, from an arts project perspective or a dream that we don't want to let go of because we think that we're going to be a quitter or we're going to let ourselves down. But really, maybe there's a side of us that's just like done with it and we don't want to go any further. We want something new. We want to be freed, right? And so many times we don't want to walk away from something that we put work into. And a lot of times what's the weirdest thing about it is that sometimes we personally are kind of done with the thing. But we have this like paranoia that everybody on the outside is going to be looking at us a certain way if we're like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I'm done with it. It's like we're worried about what people are going to think of us if we quit. The thing is, like, no one's been thinking about you at all, about anything. They're ignoring you. So it's like, if you're worried, like, that people will think less of you, or I don't know, or they'll be disappointed or something, if you're holding on to something or trying to hold up an image or, I don't know, an expectation, then free yourself of that, because you have got to live your own life for yourself. And, at the end of the day, when you've made all these sacrifices to keep everybody's image of you alive, they're not going to appreciate it and they don't care. And you're going to realize that at some point, and realize that you were doing all this stuff performatively, but for no one. There was no audience. No one cared. There's no standing ovation. It's an empty theater. So live your life. Follow the calling of your soul, right? Don't be afraid of other people's projections and expectations and opinions. Everybody's got an opinion, and it's usually the people who aren't going out and chasing their dreams or putting themselves out there or taking a risk to do something unusual. It's usually the people who aren't trying that are the ones that are going to be the mouthiest about it. And these are the opinions that don't matter, because they're, like Brene Brown says, they're not in the arena. They don't count, right? If you're making something, if you're contributing, if you're an artist, then you have critical input, right? With some weight to it, right? If you're in the game. But if you're not, then you're just, your words are empty. There's no action to back it up, no experience, right? So we are strong. We are growing past our reflexive responses. We are growing and transcending beyond our automatic response systems. We are learning how to slow down and step back and observe ourselves and do our best to adjust before we react negatively. But even if we do slip and react negatively, we're seeing it faster. We are examining it better with a little bit less judgment, a little bit at a time, right? We're trying to learn how to observe things that we do without judgment, observing other people without judgment, but this is a work in progress, right? That's the goal. And, we're trying not to be left in a state where we're in like rumination when we make a mistake. Not to obsess over it or go back over it a million times and beat yourself up, but just take in the lesson. Think about how you wish you would have approached the situation differently, and get with the creator on this. Like, how would you have had me handle this situation better? And then make a commitment to try to make an effort to do better the next time. But don't hang on forever to this moment and let it haunt you and let it add to the fact that you're going to be adding to that like trauma response in your nervous system that's keeping you in these low-level trauma responses to begin with. These are the things that are triggering you into these cycles and loops and patterns, right? So we're trying to just let that go and free ourselves and purge ourselves and be free and liberated. And I think that it might be helpful to envision yourself, like put yourself in like a river, right? And imagine that it's a river that's like, it's just deep enough where you can kind of lay back over the pebbles, and the water's not too deep, but it's still got a nice like rushing flow to it. It's a nice hot summer day. You're in the cool water. It's so refreshing, and you can feel it running over you, right? And just think about that water going through your whole body with this healing light and just moving all the density out. Imagine all the negativity and all the pain and all the limiting beliefs and all of the patterning just as this resin, this soot that is being gathered up and pushed through and purged from your body, purged from your mind, purged from your soul, purged from your energy body, purged out of your system and washed down the river, right? And the storm is also cleansing, right? There's a lot of stones that are associated with the storm chakra. And I think of the storm chakra as like almost like this lightning and invisible rainstorm going on in your chakra system, just like washing your aura clean all the time. So we have this element of intensity heightening in Scorpio season. And so, yes, the pressure is on. It's turned up a bit. The heat is turned up a bit. And this is the pressure that leads to evolution and revolution and awakening and revelation, right? And true metamorphosis and transformation. So the Chariot card here with the storm tells me that we will weather the storm, that we are getting through the storm, and that this temporary abyss, this temporary flash flood of emotion and circumstance is not permanent, and it is not going to destroy us, right? It made me think of Noah's ark and the flood. When God destroyed the earth through a flood in Noah's time, it was because the earth's consciousness had grown so dark and they were so negative and perverse that God had to wipe the slate clean completely. And Noah was informed of this and was given the plans to build the ark, and Noah and his family took refuge, and then Noah and his family started the human race over again from scratch, right? But during the 40 days in the ark, when the rain had stopped, they had to wait for the waters to subside. And so they were floating around waiting on the waters to dry up, and God sent them a rainbow, and that symbol meant, it was like a covenant that God made with Abraham, that he would never destroy the world again, or that never destroy the earth again by water. And that passage came to me today, and I was just thinking that, you know, it's tempting sometimes to feel this despair, right? Like you feel like, oh, when you hit a pattern, or you think you've healed and you've gotten past something, and then something happens and it causes an upset. And it's tempting to feel kind of hopeless, like, oh my gosh, after all of this effort, I'm back here again, right? But that's not what it's for. Every time we come around to a lesson that's familiar, it's like we're spiraling up. It's not just that we keep coming at it at the same level. And so this storm, this too shall pass. Whatever you are going through specifically during the month of Scorpio, this has been designed like couture to antagonize you, specifically you, the way that you need to be antagonized, to find those parts of your soul that still need to be activated and awakened. So the Chariot is a card that talks about, with our devotion and our attention and our presence and our awareness and our discipline and our dedication and our balance and our integration, if we stay focused and balanced and integrated, then we will keep moving, and we will keep building momentum, and we will know victory, and even maybe a little bit of fame, right? The Chariot card talks about like building momentum and recognition for successes and victory in a situation. So this storm, this too shall pass. In fact, I had this like vision of like a comedy sketch, and it was like this person in the upper realms, and they're meeting with one of their handlers, and it's almost like, you know, like spies will meet with a handler, and you know, they give them the what, you know, they give them the what for and the assignments and tell them what's going on. And so it's like this person is maybe in the upper realms, and they're walking with their handler, and they're going past a screen, and they're replaying the character in an antagonizing situation that they were in, and it was like the character was like, oh my gosh, this is such an antagonizing situation, and then the handler is like, yes. They're so excited. They're like, we designed it exactly for you. We found it very effective, but we knew this was exactly the thing that was really gonna get under your skin. We knew this would drive you crazy, but yeah, we're finding it very effective, you know, like they're all excited about it. They're like, oh, we picked the perfect thing to really set them off, really crash out. And then we're here sitting here like, oh my gosh, like I walked right into that one. I forgot that this was all a setup all along. So just think about that, right? The simulation, this biological simulation is interactive, right? It's choose your own adventure. And so the tests and the trials and the annoyances that we go through that make it, the thing is that those are specifically designed to press our specific buttons. And when we share and it's easy, that's good. And that goes, you know, as far as it will to help people. But when we do an act of sharing and it's when we're tired and we don't feel like it and we're not in the mood and we're over it, or the thing that we're having to do is very difficult, that's when it reveals the most light. That's when it actually causes the greatest transformation and the greatest metamorphosis within us and within the others around us, and with people that were maybe on the other end of the sharing, right? Maybe it changes their perspective of a situation or helps them out in a grand way that maybe kind of multiplies, like the loaves and fish, right? Beyond the measly capacity of what we were able to share. Maybe the fact that it was difficult and it was a sacrifice puts that much more power on the gift, and it makes it that much more effective and that much more fruitful, right? So keep your chin up, be full of heart, because we are moving forward. This is not the snare and the stumbling block that we think it is, but it's actually an opportunity. And even if you have been in a situation recently that you regret how it went, or you didn't think you did very well, it's not too late. It's not like we failed the test and that's it, and it's on the record, we failed. It's like we're allowed to go back and re-examine that situation and try to see things differently, and try to change the way we feel and we think about it, and make an effort to do differently next time, do better next time, do better moving forward. And it's that commitment that's going to give that momentum to what we're doing. And so here we have the Bardo, which is the underworld, the place that we go to when we are dying and letting things, laying things to rest, right? Give it a rest, lay it to rest, right? We're letting go, we're moving forward, we're letting it lie, as they say in Harry Met Sally, just let it lie. So we're letting the past and parts of ourselves that are no longer serving our highest good, that aren't really true to us anymore, we're letting those parts of ourselves die. We're having like a level of ego death and soul death, one of those dark nights of the souls. And so that's part of Scorpio season as well, as that death and rebirth and regeneration. We're going into the season of death, fall, when everything starts to decay and rot and wilt and fall away. And then we go into that state of death and sleep and regenerative void that is the winter. And it gets everything churning and everything fertile again come spring, so that everything is planted in fertile, nurtured, nourished soil that's ready to nurture and grow things from it. So this season is helping us prepare for a season of growth, but it's just like the temporary discomfort that we have to get through now. So have faith. This King of Wands is telling me that we have overcome death and we have defeated the darkness. Do you see how this character here, I love how these cards kind of like the repetition of form and the motion of things happening. It's like almost like they're connected. Even though they're in different cards, they're like kind of similar side by side realms. Do you see what I'm seeing here with the flower, the rose behind her, and then this image here with the pearl in the middle, but it's like a dark pearl. It's like wisdom that's been hard earned through an intensity and a darker experience, an experience of pain that has taken a part of you, a part of you that had to die going through that, but you were fortified in the crucible, right, that melted you down and purged your metal of its impurities, and now you're coming back all the more strong. So the King of Wands, the feminine King of Wands, stands in this very dense sort of dark forest here, and the path is like everything's closing in on this character, but they're confident and they feel fine and they're not panicked. They don't feel overwhelmed, but they're holding a light that lights up the whole area around them. It lights up the darkness. So it's like we have gone and faced death. We faced the underworld. We faced losing it all and starting over. We faced losing face in front of people. We faced losing the identity that we clung to, that we thought gave us our value, and we're like, well, that wasn't real. I guess I don't have that anymore, right? We've let it all go. We've shed it all, and now we've lived to tell the tale. And so, people who are behind us that haven't gone through it, they're going through it now, they're not prepared. We hold the light for them, because we've gained the wisdom and the strength and the resilience to overcome and to rise up again and again and again. And we know how to do it. So it's the people, we're leading the way for the people that are coming up behind us, right? And so, and whether that be through our compassion, through our patience, through our knowledge, through what we can help support others, or even just being a light in dark places that can sustain our energy through our awareness and our consciousness, where other people are maybe having a hard time. Like, for instance, I work at a restaurant, and restaurants are generally like seasonal as far as busy times of year and slow times of year. And even during like daylight savings, and which is something we do in the United States, where we change the clock, so we chase the light around, but for half of the year it's just dark all the time, so we don't know why we do this and nobody wants to. But anyway, so during those times of year the clock gets changed and everybody's like schedule is off, and so there's a lot of times during the being at a restaurant and working at a restaurant where you have to stay motivated, and it's hard because there's no one coming in and you're waiting at your tables and it feels like you're not going to get any business, and it's easy to give up early on, or like in the quieter months, when people are getting really panicked about money and there's not a lot of business. It's like that mentality and that energy can start really causing a hairball as far as like wanting to manifest abundance through, especially when you're in a team environment that is like kind of like you're just hoping to attract in random people off the street, come in, eat at a restaurant, right? So if you can be one of the people that is like giving people good advice, or being the strong one that's got inner peace, or that knows what to do, that can keep your calm, that can generate peace and comfort for everyone else as well, right? So I encourage people like to know what to expect. Like, it's a mental battle, like it's a mental marathon, like stick with it, like be patient, like, you'll get through it. Like, it's like cyclical, different times of year like this, like it's not the end all be all, like everything will even out at the end of the year kind of thing. And so whatever it is in your environment that you've gone through, that you can help be a light or a support, or just someone with like a source of strength, right? Or a little bit of know-how for others. Be that person. There are a bunch of people that I work with that are creators and content creators and different types of artists. And we're constantly taking turns holding the light for the other ones of us that are in like despair or losing hope or in the grind of the content, a hamster wheel, right? And we'll hold the light for one another and, give each other encouragement or ideas of how to work smarter and repurpose things, and getting back into the physical analog world and finding ways to reach audiences that aren't dependent on, platforms and digital world, but also finding ways to share in physical world as well. So that's just some musings coming through there. But either way, I think what's happening is that we're going through a little bit of a stormy intensity with the Scorpio season, but it's not to destroy us, and it's not a sign that we're off path or that we're failing or we're doing something wrong. But this is designed specifically to bring up that which is ready to change and transform, because big things are coming through and big things are ready to happen. And we're really at the threshold of a significantly greater, higher, more elevated chapter of our life. But it's just going to come down to us being able to let go of holding on to who we've been and who we think we are and what we currently are used to, and even transcending beyond what our current nervous system is used to. Because if your nervous system isn't used to better, then that unfamiliarity is going to trigger your nervous system to get in touch with your unconscious to be like, hey, do you have any defense mechanisms we can pull out right now? Or like maybe some self-sabotaging, because we're getting into territory that I'm not familiar with. I don't know how to receive more money, right? To you guys, this is so common. If your nervous system can't handle making more money and you start making more money, you're just going to spend that money. And if you don't spend that money, you're going to have expenses come up that spend the money for you. So we have to condition our nervous systems to even be able to handle when the situation gets better, because it's not used to better. It's familiar with the devil that it knows, and the devil that it's built its defense systems to navigate. And so when all of a sudden you've shifted into better times and like better circumstances, it's unfamiliar territory. Your nervous system hasn't learned how to be comfortable with this yet. And so we have to train our nervous systems and even try to regulate them into comfort and stability, even in exciting times where good things are coming. Because what happens is then we have like this disembodied foreboding joy, because we're afraid that the rug's going to get ripped out or the other shoe's going to drop. And eventually that sort of turns into like, I don't know, it's like we kind of like have these self-fulfilling prophecies sometimes in a way. So there's nothing to fear. Everything is fine. We're going through, initiations right now, but it's not forever. I think really good things are on the other side of this. We are the King of Wands. We've gotten to a level of self-mastery, and now it's about integrating that and sharing it with others. All right, you all, that is all for tonight. Tomorrow we will be back for our weekly manifestation oracle message. There's special elections tomorrow, so check your area and get out and vote, as long as you're voting in a way that I like. No, I'm just kidding. Everybody deserves their voice. But tomorrow there's a lot of elections, I think, going on. So find out if there's one in your area and make sure that you are still able to vote at your normal place and that nothing's been changed there. All right. And if it hasn't, it's too late, because it's all tomorrow. It's all happening tomorrow. All right, you all. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.